My mom pushed me to give in to my sister's over-the-top demands, but I refused to let them derail my career. So I exposed her lies in front of 180 guests. Imagine fighting your whole life for a dream, pouring every ounce of your soul into it, only to have your own sister, the golden child, brutally shatter it hours before it could come true. And then, years later, when you've finally rebuilt everything from scratch, she demands you sacrifice your livelihood, your very voice, for her selfish desires. What happened next wasn't just a confrontation. It was a reckoning, a public spectacle that exposed years of hidden betrayal, and I finally got to tell my truth. My name's Lena, and for as long as I can remember, I was just there. My older sister, Jessica, was the princess, adored and utterly flawless in my parents' eyes. Every single day, I'd hear how she was smarter, prettier, more talented. If I got a B on a test, Mom would fret, "Why can't you get straight A's like Jessica?" My soccer efforts? Cute, but Jessica won the volleyball state championship. My parents even preferred my decent college over Jessica's Ivy League. I was basically the backup daughter, just in case the actual one. Well, I quit at 18. I left home and never looked back, building my own life, my own career. Then I met Ethan. He was my rock, my biggest supporter. He proposed 5 months ago, and I said yes immediately. We planned a small engagement dinner, a chance for our families to finally meet. The first hour at this posh restaurant actually went great. My mother even surprised me with warm words about my outfit, which was a first. Then Jessica arrived. She waltzed in late, wearing a formal white suit, like she was negotiating a corporate merger, not attending her sister's engagement dinner. And just like that, Mom's eyes lit up again, focused solely on Jessica. For 30 minutes, Jessica's accomplishments dominated the conversation. I tried to bring it back to the engagement, to us, but Mom just barreled through. Finally, she stood up, glass in hand, ready for a toast. I actually held my breath, hoping, just hoping, for a moment of recognition. Instead, she lifted her glass and gushed about Ethan. "He's wonderful, and I'm so thrilled for him." Then she looked straight at Jessica. Too bad he met the wrong sister. It was supposed to be a joke, a light-hearted jab, but she continued. She actually said she thought Jessica fit Ethan better. That Jessica was prettier, wiser, and more worthy of him. She even hoped Daniel knew what he was getting with me, implying he could always upgrade. The room went silent. No one spoke. Ethan's parents were absolutely livid. Ethan looked like he wanted to disappear under the table. Sophia, though? She just grinned, like she agreed with every single word. My hands trembled. My cheeks burned. All 26 years of feeling like a disappointment came rushing back. I stood up. "I have something to say," I told my mother. 2 months ago, I had set up my mother's new phone. And while I did, I saw the texts. Every secret text between her and Sophia, mocking me, devaluing me. My mother calling me embarrassing. Sophia saying I was punching above my weight with Daniel. Mom agreeing, saying she didn't see what he saw in me. Sophia's texts about flirting with Daniel, planning to turn his head. I watched both their faces drain of color. My mother tried to claim I was misreading it. Sophia thought I was being flashy. Daniel, bless him, stood up. "Get out," he ordered. My mother started sobbing. "You've ruined the family." "No," I told her, my voice shaking. "She ruined it. 26 years ago. She said I was never good enough." As they stumbled out, Chloe's mother, a family friend, hugged me. "You handled that better than I ever could," she whispered. And my mother didn't know? I had screenshotted every single message. I sat in my car outside the restaurant for 20 minutes, staring at that send button. The family group chat. Transmitting is permanent. The meeting had left me shaking, but clearer than I'd been in years. My hands were icy on the steering wheel, my breath fogged the glass. I reread the screenshots. Every awful text. My mother calling me embarrassing. Sophia saying I outshined Daniel. Their black and white strategy to humiliate me. Press send. The message reached 39 relatives. Every angry conversation between my mother and Sophia, including the intention to flirt with Daniel, was screenshotted. Read receipts popped up instantly. My phone buzzed like crazy. 1, 3, 7, 15 new messages. I ignored them, muted my phone, and put it in the cup holder. Daniel silently took the passenger seat. He gently turned my phone off, and I just sobbed as he clutched my hand. His parents got us home safely. Chloe's mother, a true angel, served me tea. I just lay on the couch, contemplating my actions. She asked no questions, just gently circled my back. Dan and Lillian's father talked quietly in the kitchen, their voices a low rumble. Chloe's mom stayed in the guest room. The next morning, I braced myself. 215 alerts. The sheer volume of them scared me. Lillian's mother, bless her, was already awake, sorting through the texts with her reading glasses. She told me which family members were supporting me and which were attacking. Uncle Andrew wrote a long letter, admitting he always thought my mother treated me differently, but never realized how truly horrible it was. He regretted not speaking sooner. My Aunt Olivia called, willing to discuss my mother's abuse for an hour. She remembered my mother's passive-aggressive criticisms of her own food, clothes, and spouse at family gatherings. She stopped justifying my mother's actions, apologizing for not protecting me. She even cried, saying she should have been braver. My father's 3 cousins spoke out, too, remembering Mom's cruel comments during unguarded family gatherings. My relatives said, "My mother said I was lucky to have a job despite my poor performance." Another cousin wrote, "My mother complained that I embarrassed the family by not being as accomplished as Sophia." The pattern of her cruelty was even more extensive than I realized. My mother, of course, texted with regret. She called me unappreciative, claimed I humiliated her, demanded I delete the communications and apologize. She even threatened to visit my house if I didn't respond. Daniel immediately changed our access code. He even got security to block her. Dad called 3 days post-dinner, his voice tired. He suggested family therapy. "I won't repair anything my mother doesn't want," I told him. He fell silent. Then, after agreeing, hung up. Daniel's best friend, Ethan, brought takeout. He said Daniel's parents had alerted half his family to the turmoil. Ethan even said his own mother's breaking touch with her nasty sibling had validated my actions. Validation from outside my immediate family was a huge comfort. Over dinner, Ethan remembered his mother's boundaries. He made me laugh, my first real laugh in days. 3 days after Ethan departed, Lillian texted me. She wanted coffee. I hadn't seen her in years because my mother had always made excuses. She drove 2 hours to meet me at a little cafe near my apartment. Lillian, despite her age, had a wisdom in her eyes. She reached out, having seen everything in the group chat. She admitted my mother had mistreated me as a youngster. She stopped attending family occasions 5 years ago because she couldn't stand it. Her voice quietened as she apologized for not speaking sooner. She claimed she was too young to question my mother discreetly. She remembered my mother praising Sophia for an hour while ignoring me at Christmas dinner when I was 12. Lillian had cried for me at home that night. She squeezed my hand across the table, considering me courageous for standing up. We talked for 2 hours. She described her own rocky connection with her mother and how imposing limits had improved her life. We said farewell and promised to communicate. She wanted in, since my mother didn't restrict who I saw. Her support made driving home easier. Daniel and I were eating as the family drama continued to unfold. My phone buzzed so much I placed it face down on the table. Daniel read the alerts. His face tightened. He showed me the screen. Grandmother had written a lengthy defense of my mother. She claimed I was exaggerating and sensitive. She thought I was splitting the family for a mistake. Rapid responses. Uncle Andrew claimed he didn't misunderstand the screenshots. Olivia was fed up with supporting my mother's abuse. Someone I hardly knew advocated forgiving my mother because family is essential. Another relative claimed family doesn't tolerate abuse. Threads grew as more joined. My Uncle James recommended to relax before saying anything regrettable. Nobody listened. Reviving old grudges and conflicts increased fighting. Bad parenting was blamed. Someone recalled a sad 9-year-old wedding. The discussion centered on anger and blame. Daniel turned off my phone's alerts. He suggested no reading tonight. I felt ill, knowing my grandma was protecting my mother after seeing what she had witnessed. Daniel got takeout, and we watched a movie, but I kept checking my phone. I got a letter 4 days later. My mother's handwriting on the envelope, thicker than expected. My stomach sank. After sitting on the couch, I opened it. 6 pages of my mother's immaculate cursive fell out, front and back. She was distraught that I wasn't calling her. She said I had misinterpreted the dinner toast joke. She insisted I was misremembering my upbringing, that she'd always loved both daughters equally. She talked about helping me succeed with schoolwork or driving me to soccer practice, like it erased everything else. Sophia was worried I'm killing our family. She considered me selfish and cruel for not forgiving her. Multiple alterations occurred in the letter. She never apologized. She never apologized for dinner comments. She considered me spiteful and oversensitive. The last page said she'll forgive me if I openly apologize to her and Sophia in the family group chat. Her gestures show devotion like nothing she written meanly. Mom. After 2 readings, my hands shake. I become angry and move. Just take my keys and tell Daniel to walk. He wants to join me, but I need privacy. I relax by walking the block 3 times in the cold. Mom doesn't recognize her error. The victim mentality persists. It gets worse with letters. Daniel spotted me on the couch while using my phone at night. I sat next to him, and he asked if I wanted to go away for the weekend. For a few days, he suggested relaxing and not checking our phones. Constant alerts and family turmoil fatigued me, so I agreed instantly. We packed up and drove 3 hours to a mountain B&B the next morning. Small yet good, with hiking trails nearby. On day 1 of our trip, my family is not mentioned. Emily highlighted unusual birds and plants. We listened beside a creek on rocks. We trekked to a valley-wide view the second day. We observed clouds while eating packed sandwiches. My phone is generally in my bag. I can focus without texting and ringing. I realized I'd wasted energy satisfying my mother. I considered her opinion in every decision. Knowing she'd compare every success to Sophia hollowed them. Wanting her approval hurt my career. On that summit, seeing the countryside, I realized she'll never satisfy me. She won't see me well. Despite agony, the thought is soothing. No more trying. Emily held my hand as we wait until sunset. Light her homeward. Distance showed me my mother's perspective doesn't define me. Back home, I activated my phone. 53 new posts. Most are from the family group chat, although my Uncle James gave me some. Family gatherings require a mediator. He advised a family conflict therapist. If everyone sits down and talks honestly, we can resolve this. The notion bored me despite his good intentions. I appreciate his aid when I phone back. I won't sit with Sophia or Mom. His voice is sad. Although families are hard, he hates seeing them break up. Deny pulling things apart. Finally responding to my mother's lengthy behavior. He pauses before saying, I understand. If I rethink, the invitation stands. His promise is to always back me. I appreciate his effort, but mediation won't work. Mom would victimize herself again. James tells me to take care of myself to stop the call. I swear. A stranger sent me an Instagram message. No profile photo. Random username. What makes me read it after nearly deleting it? Her letter indicates she heard from friends and wants to reconnect. Meline, my dearest high school buddy, sent it. After graduation, she moved to college across the nation and we lost touch. Even though I haven't thought about her in years, her name conjured up sleepovers and late-night talks. Our lunch is planned after I message her. She chooses a restaurant between our apartments. I enter, and she rushes and hugs me. Her looks don't affect her laughter. The previous 8 years are eaten and reviewed. Her topics are job, home, and dating. My mom is mentioned. She always believed my mother was mean as a teen. My mother praised Sophia while ignoring me at home. She says, I placed second in school competitions. She says, Mom disappointed I wasn't first like Sophia. Meline wanted to assist, but wasn't sure how. My mother terrified her as a child. She regrets timidity. It's possible she did nothing. 3-hour conversation and phone number exchange. I'll talk this time. Reuniting with her is like rediscovering myself again. 2 days after lunch with Meline, a new Instagram user approaches me. Texts say Sophia is the victim. She claims I turned the family against her, and she never hurt me. Scripture says she followed our mother's example and didn't know what to do. I read them demanding an apology or recognition for her actions. No substance, just excuses and blame. It states she's in treatment and self-improvement. She wants our romance back. Incorrect tone. She sounds like she's reading my want script. Her harm isn't valued. Every interaction is saved in my phone's behavior folder. Account blocking. Another person writes me within an hour with the identical profile photo. I block. Sophia persists, but I'm done. Saturday dinner is at Daniel's parents'. Father arranges a magnificent meal, and mother makes pot roast. Daniel's mother wants to chat after dinner. We move to the living room as Daniel and his father clean the kitchen. She grabs my hand on the couch. She calls me her family despite me. She claims I'm her daughter. Praise for my management makes her cry. I established limits and stood up, which inspires her. She knows how hard this is since her mother was difficult. She vows to always include me and their family. Acceptance pinches my throat. I weep. She hugs. Motherly love should feel this. Support without limitations. Pride without comparison. Love without violence. Daniel and his dad watch us weeping. Her father jokes about women and emotions positively. Before leaving, they hug. A calm return. The family exists. Birth family, not my lunchtime. Security contacts me at work. They say my mother wants to meet me in the lobby. My heart races. Promise descent. I take the elevator and notice her weeping in the waiting room. She misbehaves. Entryway people watch her. The woman is in view. She screams that I won't call back, breaking her heart. I retreat when she arrives. My voice is chilly as I order her to go. My friend calls me foolish and wants to discuss. She must depart or security will. She's surprised by my sincerity. Security asks whether anything's wrong. Mother's face changes. Her face cools after sobbing. She says I'll regret it. She thinks I'm hurting her and will understand when I have kids. She turns toward the door. She yells across the lobby that I'm an unappreciative daughter. Before leaving, everyone in the waiting room hears her. Shame warms my face. The security guy apologizes and checks on me. Just nodding. I go upstairs. My hands shook all afternoon, distracted at work. Work was stopped by Mom. She broke another line, and it won't last. Seeking therapy in the morning. Miller treats family and harmful connections. Her office opens that afternoon. So I go with cozy sofas and gentle music. The waiting room is serene. Dr. Miller brings me to her office. She has stunning backward black hair and eyes. She questions my visit. After the engagement meal, I recount my childhood. Listens uninterrupted. After I finish, she nods slowly. She calls my mother narcissistic. She believes some parents need a golden kid and scapegoat to feel in control. I did not cause it, and I cannot solve it. She says professional approval calms me. Not insane. Poor sensitivity. Mommy abused me. Miller questions my limits. I ignore my mother's calls and family functions. She approves of some restrictions. She advises my mother escalate before accepting. My mother says she struggles with control loss. Set weekly appointments. Leaving her office improved my behavior. An expert thinks I'm all right. It matters more than thinking. Dan and I are invited to dinner by Olivia on Saturday, 3 days after my last therapy appointment. She expects Andrew, her, and their 2 kids to be alone. No conflict, just family. I agree before overthinking. Daniel takes us to their suburban home on Saturday. My hands tremble entering the driveway. I trust Olivia, but past experiences make me uneasy. At the first family meeting since the engagement dinner, Andrew opens the door and hugs us. Teens Chloe and Jake wave from the living room. House smells like chicken and garlic. Olivia hugs me longer after washing her hands in the kitchen. She whispers, "Thanks for coming." Dinner in my house has never felt so natural. Discussing school, job, and kids' sports. My mother and Sophia are disregarded. Nobody compares or backhandedly remarks. Olivia holds her dessert wine. As expected in the restaurant, she wants to celebrate my engagement. She thinks Daniel is lucky to have me. She says, I deserve someone who sees my worth. Jake and Chloe sip Coke. I blink desperately to stop sobbing as my throat tightens. Family should experience this. During the week, families interact more. Isabella, my second cousin, emails me about her mother in detail. She alleges her mother humiliated her and favored her brother. We chat for 2 hours over coffee. Even if your parents mistreated you, she knows the strange embarrassment of separation. Her experience 5 years ago led her to happiness after leaving relationship mending. Both parties exchange numbers and agree to talk. My dad's uncle texts me support. My old images get heart emoji comments from 2 additional relatives. I'm developing a family that appreciates me. Not backup daughter. Like beginning over, but better. It's great. My family likes me. The bar was low. Phone rings while preparing breakfast. Caller ID reveals my grandmother's number. Almost not replying. Curiosity triumphs. She speaks shortly after I respond. She worries about my mother's health. My mother saw a doctor for stress-related chest pain. She breaks as my granny accuses me for not forgiving. I breathe and speak softly. I'm not accountable for my mother's health. Stop endangering my health. My grandmother gasps like I uttered something terrible. She calls me cruel and says, families forgive. I suggest her family respect each other. Screaming, she asks how I got chilly. I learn limitations from her treatment, not coldness. I disconnect before she continues. My hands shake, but I'm pleased I continued. Daniel and I read wedding magazines at our kitchen table. I cried when his parents funded our wedding. List guests. Daniel records family and friends. Olivia, Andrew, Lillian, my father, and others extended real support. The list excludes my mother. Neither does Sophia's. I grant Daniel's request. He squeezes my hand and whispers, okay. We count names and choose 40 guests. Daniel asks whether I mind. Yes, it feels right. They care about us. Not sad. Choosing feels strong. I'm not inviting out of duty or fear. I pick who celebrates with us. My work phone gets email alerts. Forgot to disable Sophia's work email. Unknowingly, I open the I'm sorry subject line. She describes her treatment in 3 paragraphs. She recognizes our mother's bias made her rely on being the greatest at everything. She thinks she never learned real relationships because she wanted our mother's approval. She would like to be sisters and friends again. Read twice. The full email discusses her issues. She recounts her pain, treatment, and revelations. For certain actions, she never apologizes. Her smile disappears when Mom says, I'm not good enough. No one claims she'll flirt with Daniel. Email victimized her, not me. And without reply. I reject her closure because she wants it. Next session, Dr. Miller and I will write my mother. She calls it a border letter. It needs few tweaks to be perfect. The note adds, I will not have contact with my mother until she acknowledges the specific harm she caused throughout my life. It lists examples without being cruel. It says, I need her to stop blaming me for the consequences of her own actions. It states clearly that I'm not asking for an apology that shifts blame or makes excuses. A page. Dr. Miller nods while reading. Clear and strong without being harsh, she says. Signing follows printing. I mail it certified so my mother can't say she never got it. Cashier requests insurance. I nearly laugh. No insurance covers that product. My mother replies 3 days later, but not in writing. She believes she's a dedicated mother punished for adoring both girls equally on Facebook. She says some kids don't understand parental sacrifices. For unknown reasons, her heart is broken. Without context, 20 likes, 12 comments. Family members who missed the first group chat contact me after viewing the post. They screenshot my mother and Sophia's text, sending the border letter. 3 relatives said they had no clue things were so awful in an hour. No more excuses for her behavior. After 6 hours, Mom deletes the Facebook post. Just in case, I screenshot it. Daniel advises leaving work early Friday. I must arrive at 5 without explanation. I'm scared about my 4:30 homecoming. I arrive and notice him dressed beautifully and smiling oddly. We go after he advises I change into something comfy. When queried, he claims our destination is surprising. We arrive at his parents' 20 minutes later. There are several automobiles in the driveway. Daniel opens my door and shows me the backyard, trees, and a food and drink table with string lights. Olivia, Andrew, and their kids attend. Lillian exists. Daniel's friend, Ethan, brought his girlfriend. My father sits at the table, uneasy. His mother hugs me when Daniel's parents visit. She claims Daniel wanted a family-friendly engagement celebration. All raise glasses as Chloe's father toasts new beginnings. Olivia applauds my womanhood despite everything. Watching me set boundaries and choose myself has been inspiring. Applause and tears. It's my first time getting praise without comparisons. I expect difficulties when my supervisor calls Monday morning. She promotes me to senior analyst. Get promoted in office. She claims leadership and perseverance. I thank her and work without flying, starting with Daniel and his parents. Daniel calls and says, we're celebrating tonight. His mother tears and is proud. At my desk with my phone, it hits me. I never considered phoning Mom. Telling her positive news is harder. Sadness is unpredictable. My mood improves. Living without her viewpoint hurts less than I imagined. Texting, Lillian orders coffee. I accept, and we meet near her office. She commands and sits serious. Sophia alleges she asked Lillian to limit dialogue. Lillian promised Sophia to inquire without pressurizing me. Looking at me, she asks, I may never be ready. That option is accepted by Lillian nodding. She'll reject Sophia without shaming me. I appreciate that she respected my decision rather than forgiving relatives. My hand gets gripped across the table by Lillian. She supports dissolving familial bonds. 2 weeks later, my dad invites me to coffee. He claims my mother doesn't know he's calling and wants to chat alone. We'll meet alone across town. He seems older at a corner table as I enter. Slouchy shoulders, new eye wrinkles. He stands when he sees me, and we awkwardly hug before sitting. I usually say okay when he asks how I'm doing. His coffee is stirred calmly without adding anything. Finally lifting his head, he apologizes. He regrets not protecting me more as a child. He says, my mother's rage is draining, and he can't ignore it. The fatigue guy says it. He thought saying this was theft. I don't know what to say after waiting my whole life for him to confess. His words dull me, not relieved. Apologizing doesn't help. He's more accountable than I expected, but it doesn't erase my past or years of comparisons and put-downs, I tell him. Avoiding major matters, we speak about minor things for another hour. As we part, I declare I'll date him if he respects my rules. Not talking about my mother or letting him reconcile. He accepts instantly, almost nervously, like he needs permission to date me without her. Our monthly coffee meetups are simple, although far apart. Our relationship is more honest. I felt uncomfortable driving home, like I'd accepted something unnecessary. Next morning, my grandmother messages. Writing her long formal statement probably took an hour. She warned me about mistreating my mother and prohibited me from family trips. She does not consider a daughter who openly humiliates her mother and refuses to apologize her grandchild. She mentions my holiday prohibitions, including guest list removal. I reread the message, expecting pain, but relief floods me. I was excluded from terrible happenings. My mother commended Sophia's thinness and condemned my weight over Thanksgiving. Sophia received jewels and elegant outfits for Christmas mornings while I received socks. Easter brunches with my grandma who asked why I wasn't married and praised Sophia. I can skip it all now without remorse. I copy and email Daniel the message with the description. I guess we're having our own holidays now. He quickly replies. His parents already invited us to everything, and we're going to start our own traditions. I quiet my grandma and eat breakfast, feeling lighter than in weeks. Daniel and I research wedding sites next Saturday. 3 attractive but unpleasant sites were visited. Next, we visit a little garden behind an ancient city building. The owner showed us around, and I fell in love. Stone paths link rose arbors and flower gardens. An intimate 50-person patio with string lights amid trees. Nice and cozy. However, my mother wanted huge settings. He feels Emily holding my 5-month reservation and deposit. Owner expects a beautiful wedding. On the way home, Emily advises bringing only relationship supporters. No obligation invitations or embarrassing relatives, only those who arrived. Fun replaces stressful wedding planning. Who we want is on our lunch napkin lists. His list includes my dad, Aunt Olivia, Uncle Andrew, Lillian, Meline, Chloe's relatives. I like all 40 names I'll choose. A mother's friend is in the vegetable department next Tuesday. She smiles as she approaches me before I change aisles. She inquires about my well-being in that gossip-gathering voice. I assure her I'm great, but she stops my cart. My mother is upset over the engagement supper, she adds. She regrets kids not valuing parents. She stares at me like I should apologize or explain. Instead, I look her in the eye and tell her my mother destroyed my heart for 26 years, and one poor dinner doesn't compare. She should ask my mother why she said my sister deserves my fiancé more if she's worried about her feelings. She opens her mouth, but says nothing. I pass her with my cart without apologizing or comforting her. Shopping makes my hand shake with delight, not guilt. Learning guilt-free defense. I inform my therapist about the grocery store event and my father's call during my next appointment. Her patience in asking how I feel about losing my mother forever. Perhaps I never needed a mother. She agrees that I'm mourning the relationship I needed, not the one I had. Despite missing my ideal mom, she says the real connection was dreadful. The distinction clarifies things. I waited a lifetime for ideal motherhood. Never would. The mother I needed never existed. My trust in her change is fading. Hope slows me. My therapist wonders about not expecting change. Similar to my life, without her judging my value or happiness. The session feels like I dropped something heavy I didn't realize I was carrying. Weekend Meline invites me to her friends. She asked me to supper with friends she likes. I agree. However, I'm terrified to encounter family issue experts. I discover 6 ladies our age in her flat. No one asks about my family or bad things when Meline introduces me. Work, TV, and travel are discussed during dinner. One woman joked about her lousy work, another about marathon preparation. Their interest in my profession and wedding is genuine. No one vets me or needs evidence. We converse freely, and I realize I've been so secluded by family strife for years that I forgot about friendships. I'm known as me, not as the backup daughter or the girl whose mother hates her. 3 new tunes and 2 for brunch next weekend are my takeaway that night. I text Meline to thank her, and she says she's delighted I came and her friends liked me. Although basic, it helps me live independently from my family. Monday morning brings a large flower arrangement to my office. My coworkers gather as I read the card. The blatant untruth. She forgives me and my mother's handwriting. Makes me smile like I did something wrong. She pardons me like she's better for ignoring my wrongdoing. My coworker asks how I'm doing, and I tell her these flowers are from someone who doesn't forgive. My office is 2 blocks from the nearest nursing home. I offer their activities coordinator a flower during lunch. Excited, she believes others would welcome fresh flowers in the common area. I don't call her SMS mom to say I got them. My response and thank you card are missing. Silent responses are powerful. Daniel asks whether my mother sent anything else that night. I suggest flowers. He shakes his head, amazed she still doesn't understand. I think she knows now. She refuses. Not comprehending is different from my mother's unwillingness to adapt. Daniel's mother calls 2 weeks later to invite us to supper. We find his aunt, uncle, and cousins. His mother requests that they introduce me as their daughter-in-law at a family gathering. She wants everyone to know of their excitement for me. I become furious because the invitation signifies familial acceptance I've always desired but never received. Her attention is appreciated. 3 weeks later, Daniel's extended family excitedly welcomes me to the reunion. Grandma hugged me and said she'd heard good things about me. His cousins want wedding photos and venues. His aunt draws me aside and says she sees how happy I make Daniel, which is all that counts to his family. Nobody asks about my relatives. Daniel likes me and I'm kind, so they accept me. The afternoon was spent laughing and conversing with my supporters. Daniel adds, his family thinks I'm great. As we depart that night, my family finally wants me. I realize I haven't checked my phone for my mother or Sophia's texts in days. In the afternoon at work, without warning, my months-long monitoring ended. Checking my phone every morning prepared me for manipulation or guilt. Today, I check my messages anytime I want without alerts. Telling my therapist that night makes her grin. She adds, this is what peace feels like, and I should pay attention to how different my life is without their toxicity. I remark, it's like breathing better. This reliably eliminates stomach knots. It feels like savoring amazing things without spoiling. My therapist says, I've done the hard work of setting boundaries, and now I'm experiencing the reward of that work. Peace doesn't promise no issues, just that my predicament ended. As I drive home, I admire my growth and lighter life. Olivia calls 2 weeks later to ask me to dinner. She claims only she, Andrew, and a few family members will always support me. She may develop a family custom that values connections. I want to come. She's excited. Saturday night supper at her house. Found Lillian and 2 more relatives I haven't seen in years. Everyone embraced and complimented me for defying my mother. We eat lasagna and garlic bread without talking about Sophia or my mother unless it supports my boundaries. Olivia raises her glass and offers quarterly meetings. Respectable family. We all agree, and I discovered something superfluous. Family dinners should feel this. Instead of fretting and comparing, I laugh. 3 days later, Daniel and I celebrate our first year. At our first date restaurant, he orders the same. He contemplates my modifications over dessert. He liked me more after seeing me stand up for myself at the engagement dinner because of my strength. I told him I worried imposing limits would alienate people but strengthen relationships. I appreciate his help. He grabs my hand across the table and says, that's exactly what happened. Protecting myself didn't cost me love. It just cleared out the fake love to make room for the real thing. A week later, distant relative Isabella reaches me on Facebook. Since she lives 3 states away, we only see her at major family reunions. After hearing her story through the family grapevine, she wanted to contact my mother. Her family has always prioritized her brother and ignored her. She seeks advice. I address treatment restrictions and accepting you can't please everyone. After an hour of talking, she thanks me for being honest about how hard it is. Helping others with my grief is unexpectedly significant. At our next meeting, my therapist grins and adds, "This is part of my healing, too." My father calls about coffee days later. Sitting, he looks afraid and fatigued. My boundary letter helped him realize his treatment-induced silence. He claims he normalized my mother's behavior for decades. He admits to not protecting me as a child. I respect his responsibility, but we can't undo the past. Our weekly coffee dates will continue if he doesn't call my mother. He agrees, and we discuss our gardens over coffee. Sophia delivers my work address 2 weeks later. Final message almost gets deleted without reading, but curiosity wins. She won't contact me since she knows I don't want a relationship. She wishes me happiness and moves on. No apologies for her actions. I hope it works. After reading twice, I delete without reacting. I'm not responsible for her joy or closure. Her inability to apologize shows her shift. The wedding guest list takes up Sunday afternoon for Daniel and me. We reviewed everyone after avoiding it since it appeared complicated. Last list has 42 persons. His family, my father, Olivia, Andrew, Lillian, a few supporting relatives, our close friends, and my therapist who helped me heal are invited. Daniel finds the list interesting. We or they picked us, not visitors. The list looks right, and I don't feel terrible about missing somebody. I write wedding vows next week. Genuine promises, building a respectful, loving family, selecting each other daily, and improving ourselves are my topics. As I read them, Daniel cries during rehearsal dinner practice. After I finish, his parents hug me, and his mother says she's honored to be in my new family tale. Father of Chloe says they've always wanted a daughter, and are pleased it's me. His family accepts him differently than mine, which surprised me. Chloe's mother contacts me unhappy 3 weeks before the wedding. She says, "My mother wrote to their house to persuade me to invite her to the wedding." Page after page, the letter describes her suffering and why she should be my mother. Her mother feeds me sentences over the phone, twisting them. We thank her for telling me, and decide she'll write back to not influence us. Chloe's mother will reinforce my limits tomorrow. His family defends my choices without my request, which I appreciate. Days later, Lillian offers wedding day motherly duties. She pledges to handle my mother's feared visit. Daniel and I discuss it and hire venue security. Wedding security stated, "Unwanted guests are more often than people realize, and we'll make sure no one crashes who isn't on our list." Being safe allows me to enjoy my wedding without worrying about my mother. Later that night, Lillian texts me that she'll always support me, and I believe her. I wake up thrilled the week before the wedding, not nervous. When I get ready for work, I realize I'm unprepared for anything to go wrong or someone to destroy my day. In afternoon therapy, my therapist stated that this happens when you're unprepared for criticism or rejection. She says, "I've done the hard work of removing toxic people from my life, and now I get to experience what peace actually feels like. I'm marrying someone who loves me exactly as I am. I'm surrounded by people who celebrate me instead of tearing me down, and I don't have to perform or prove my worth to anyone." The relief of that realization makes me emotional in the best possible way. Olivia's house smells like vanilla and flowers when I arrive for the bridal shower. The living room is packed with women who have shown up for me, not out of obligation, but because they actually want to celebrate. Lillian hugs me at the door and whispers that she helped Olivia plan everything, and I can already feel tears starting. Chloe's mother is here with 2 of his aunts, and they wave from the couch where they're chatting with Meline. My cousin Isabella from my dad's side brought her daughter, and even my therapist accepted the invitation, which makes me feel seen in a way I never expected. Olivia has set up games and decorations, but what hits me hardest is that nobody here has ever made me feel like I wasn't enough. The shower starts with everyone sharing a story about me, and I brace myself for the usual backhanded compliments, disguised as praise, but Lillian goes first and talks about the time I stood up to a bully in middle school who was picking on a younger kid, and how that moment showed her I had more courage than most adults she knew. Meline tells everyone about how I helped her through her parents' divorce by just listening without judgment. And Chloe's aunt mentions how Daniel lights up every time he talks about me. Each story reveals qualities I didn't know other people noticed. Strengths my mother never acknowledged because she was too busy comparing me to Sophia. By the time we get to the gift opening, I'm crying happy tears, and Olivia hands me tissues while laughing. The gifts are thoughtful and personal things chosen because people actually know who I am. Then Chloe's mother stands up and asks if she can give me something special. She pulls out a delicate silver bracelet with tiny charms, and her voice shakes a little as she explains that it belonged to her own mother. She says she's been waiting for the right person to give it to, someone who would appreciate not just the jewelry, but what it represents. She fastens it around my wrist and tells me it's my something borrowed. But really, it's about welcoming me into their family officially. I lose it completely and hug her while everyone else gets teary too. This is what it feels like to be chosen and valued, to receive love without waiting for the criticism that always followed it in my original family. The shower wraps up with cake and more laughter. And as people leave, each one hugs me and tells me how happy they are for my wedding. Driving home, I keep looking at the bracelet and thinking about how different this celebration was from anything my mother ever hosted for me. 2 days before the wedding, my phone rings while I'm confirming final details with the florist. It's my father, and my stomach tightens automatically, even though we've been doing better. He asks if I have a minute to talk, and I step outside onto the balcony. He says he's calling to confirm he's still walking me down the aisle, which we already discussed. But then his voice gets quieter. He tells me he knows he can't make up for all the years he stood by while my mother tore me down, but he wants to be part of my future if I'll let him. He says watching me set boundaries and build a life without my mother's toxicity has made him realize how much damage he allowed by staying silent. I tell him yes, he can walk me down the aisle. And while our relationship will never be what it could have been, I appreciate his effort to do better now. He thanks me, and his voice cracks a little. And after we hang up, I sit on the balcony for a while thinking about forgiveness and second chances. I'm not ready to forget everything, but I'm willing to let him try. The morning of the wedding, I wake up feeling calm instead of anxious. Daniel already left for his parents' house, where he's getting ready with the groomsmen. And Lillian and Meline arrive at my apartment with coffee and bagels. They help me shower and start on my hair, and the whole process feels easy and fun. We laugh about Lillian's disaster of a first date last month and Meline's new puppy who keeps eating her shoes, and there's no underlying tension or competition. When it's time to put on my dress, they both help with the tiny buttons down the back. And when I finally look in the mirror, I feel beautiful without needing anyone to tell me I am. The dress fits perfectly, and the bracelet from Chloe's mother catches the light. Lillian takes a million photos, and Meline gets emotional, and I realize this is what getting ready for your wedding should feel like. No one is comparing me to anyone else or pointing out flaws or making jokes at my expense. We're just 3 women celebrating a happy moment, and it feels completely right. The ceremony venue is exactly what Daniel and I wanted, a small garden with flowers everywhere and chairs set up for our 40 guests. I wait in the back room with my father while the music starts, and he adjusts his tie nervously. When it's time to walk down the aisle, he offers his arm, and we step out into the sunlight. Daniel is standing at the front with the officiant, and the second he sees me, tears start running down his face. My father walks slowly like he's trying to make the moment last, and halfway down the aisle, he leans over and whispers that he's proud of me. For once, I believe a family member's compliment without analyzing it for hidden criticism or waiting for the other shoe to drop. When we reach the front, my father hugs me before handing me off to Daniel, and I can see he's crying, too. The ceremony itself is simple and perfect. The officiant talks about love and commitment, and then Daniel starts his vows. His voice shakes as he promises to always see my worth, even when I struggle to see it myself, to be my family when my original family failed me, and to spend every day proving that I deserve to be loved exactly as I am. By the time he finishes, half the guests are crying, and I'm barely holding it together. I manage to get through my own vows about building something better together. And when the officiant pronounces us married, Daniel kisses me, and everyone applauds. The reception is in the same garden under string lights that make everything glow. We eat and talk and dance, and Andrew stands up to give a toast. He talks about how the strongest families are the ones we choose, not just the ones we're born into, and how watching me set boundaries and build a life on my own terms has inspired other family members to examine their own relationships. He says, "This room full of people who actually love me is more like family than any holiday gathering ever was." And several people nod in agreement. When Daniel and I dance to our first song, I realize I'm not thinking about who's missing from the room. I'm not scanning for my mother or Sophia or wondering if they'll show up to ruin things. I'm fully present with the people who showed up, the ones who prove their love through actions instead of just words. My mother's absence doesn't diminish the joy at all. If anything, it protects it and lets me enjoy the day without bracing for criticism. At the end of the night, Chloe's parents find us by the cake table and pull us both into a hug. His mother says she didn't just gain a daughter-in-law today. She gained a daughter, and the distinction matters more than I can explain. His father says they're proud to call me family, and I thank them for accepting me so completely. I'm building a new family story where I'm valued and celebrated, where my worth isn't dependent on comparison or competition. And my mother's narrative about me being the backup daughter has no power here. Daniel and I say goodbye to the last guests and head to the hotel where we're staying before our flight tomorrow. And I feel lighter than I have in years. On our honeymoon in Hawaii, Daniel and I spend the first few days just relaxing on the beach and not thinking about family drama. But one evening while we're watching the sunset, we start talking about the future and what kind of parents we want to be someday. Daniel says he wants our kids to feel equally loved and supported. And I agree immediately. We talk about how we'll never compare siblings or play favorites, how we'll celebrate each child's unique strengths instead of ranking them against each other. I tell him, our children will never wonder which one is loved more and will break the cycle of favoritism and comparison that my mother created. Turning my pain into a promise to do better feels like the ultimate victory over my mother's legacy. Like I'm taking all that hurt and transforming it into something protective and healing for the next generation. Somewhere during the honeymoon, I realize I've stopped defining myself in relation to Sophia or my mother. When I think about who I am, I don't automatically compare myself to my sister or measure my worth by my mother's standards. I'm not the backup daughter anymore. I'm just myself, and that's enough. The voice in my head that used to sound like my mother's criticism has gotten quieter, replaced by my own voice telling me I'm worthy exactly as I am. I look at Daniel sleeping beside me one morning and think about the life we're building together, and I feel grateful for every hard decision that led me here. Setting boundaries hurt and cost me relationships, but it also freed me to become someone I actually like. 3 months pass after the wedding, and I'm sitting at a coffee shop when my phone rings with my father's number. I answer and hear his voice quieter than usual, telling me he needs to talk. He says he's moved into a hotel temporarily and separated from my mother. The words hang in the air between us for a moment before he explains that watching me build a life without her toxicity made him realize how much her behavior affected his own happiness. He sounds tired, but also relieved, like he's been carrying something heavy for years and finally set it down. I tell him I'm not going to pressure him about what he decides to do long term, but I'm glad he's taking care of himself. We talk for another 20 minutes about nothing important, just normal conversation without the weight of my mother's presence influencing every word. When we hang up, I sit with my coffee and realize this is what happens when you stop accepting cruelty as normal. Other people start to notice it, too. The following week, I have my regular therapy appointment, and my therapist reviews the progress I've made over the past several months. She suggests we move to monthly sessions instead of weekly because I've built such a strong foundation of self-worth. She reminds me that healing isn't a straight line, and I'll probably still have hard days. But the work I've done means my mother's voice in my head doesn't control me anymore. I can hear criticism without believing I deserve it. I can set boundaries without drowning in guilt. I can accept love without waiting for the conditions that come after it. I leave her office and walk to my car, feeling proud of how far I've come from the woman who used to apologize for existing. November arrives, and Daniel and I decide to host our first holiday dinner in our apartment. We invite his parents, my father, Olivia, Andrew, Lillian, Meline, and Ethan. I spend the morning cooking while Daniel sets the table, and when everyone arrives, the apartment fills with voices and laughter that feels genuine. Nobody makes comparisons between me and anyone else. Nobody gives compliments with hidden insults attached. Olivia brings a pie and hugs me in the kitchen, telling me how happy she is to see me thriving. My father sits on the couch talking to Chloe's dad about golf, and the conversation is easy and comfortable. Ethan tells a story about Daniel's college years that makes everyone laugh, and Meline helps me carry dishes to the table. We eat and talk, and someone suggests a game after dinner, and the whole evening feels warm and safe. This is what family is supposed to feel like. People who show up because they want to, not because they have to. People who celebrate you instead of tolerate you. I look around the table at faces that chose to be here and realize I finally have what I always wanted. A year passes since the engagement dinner that changed everything. I wake up next to Daniel in the apartment we share and think about how different my life looks now. I have a husband who loves me without conditions or comparisons. I have in-laws who treat me like their actual daughter instead of someone they're stuck with. I have a chosen family of relatives and friends who celebrate my wins and support me through hard days. But most importantly, I have my own approval. I don't need my mother to validate my worth anymore because I know it myself. Her opinion used to define everything about how I saw myself, but now it's just noise I don't have to listen to. The freedom that comes from that realization is worth every uncomfortable conversation, every boundary I had to set, every relationship I had to let go of to protect my peace. I'm not the backup daughter anymore. I'm just me, and that's enough.